when the pandemic hit, I needed a positive outlet, and I'm a runner and I run every day. And as an entrepreneur, we're very robot minded. We have our set schedule, and we have the checklists that we have to check off. And mine is just running 3 miles every day, but that didn't really help with what I was going through.
Dr. Lina Kim runs 3 miles every day. It's part of her entrepreneur's checklist, a disciplined routine that keeps her moving forward even when nothing else makes sense. But in 2020, 3 miles wasn't enough. Lina was navigating a personal crisis and a pandemic simultaneously. She needed more than routine. She needed a catalyst, and that catalyst came at an EO chapter retreat, where a compelling speaker's message sparked an idea that would become Floss Boss Mobile. The idea deepened through her forum, where vulnerability replaced isolation, and a band of brothers gave her courage to take risks her healthcare training never taught her to take. Today, Dr. Kim still runs every day, but now she's also CEO of 2 thriving businesses, a dental practice and a mobile dental clinic business that serves everyone from Seahawks players to trauma survivors. Because EO taught her that sometimes you need to stop running the same path and start running towards something entirely new. I'm Aaron Burnett, and this is Lina Kim's story on Moments That Matter from EO Seattle. So tell me your story. Tell me the story of your journey into dentistry and how you created Floss Boss.
It starts back in 1999. I was a undergrad at University of Washington, and then I pursued dental school at the UW Dental School. So I've been like a 9-year Husky, huge cheerleader for the Huskies. And then I did a residency. So it's kind of like a hospital-based residency where we rotate through Harborview and Seattle Children's Hospital, the VA, and hospital dentistry. So at the UW Medical Center. I think it was there that I built my confidence in my dental skills and communication. My strength was definitely children. So my director at Odessa Brown, affiliated with Seattle Children's, he hired me. So I did part-time public health, and then I did part-time group practice. I hadn't owned my own office yet, but I was just trying to develop my own dental identity as a dentist.
Right.
And that's how I came about into the public sector, is treating a lot of the diverse populations, different immigrants, really understanding the cultures and the backgrounds behind every different country of patients that came through the clinic. But we never discriminated. We kind of did our standard treatment in terms of education. There was translation services at Odessa Brown, which was very helpful. But oftentimes they would bring their whole families because they didn't have a sitter, or the parents didn't have the capabilities to kind of leave their kids at home. So it's like their whole tribe. So there was always bench seating areas for the kids while the other kids got their treatment done. And so I saw the challenges of coming to a dental appointment for this type of community. And so I started to develop my interest in continuing public health. So I did that since I graduated residency. And then in 2007, I bought my own practice from a retiring dentist. And I knew nothing about business because they didn't teach us that in dental school.
Sure.
And I had to kind of learn on the job, writing checks to employees. I had 3 at the time. And then the recession hit the next year in 2008, got really slow, but that was the time there was an opportunity that came available in Magnolia. And I started another practice from scratch. But mind you, I had a 9-month-old when I bought my first practice. And then a year later, I decided to open another practice. Then I had my second child. So I was a very busy working mom. And having the staff and then learning the business, but then now starting a business from scratch posed many challenges as well.
Yeah.
But it was the perfect time to purchase and develop. Back then, construction costs were a lot lower. So
That's such an entrepreneur's mindset. Middle of an economic downturn.
That's
It's the
right.
perfect time to start a
Timing.
business.
You kind of like look at the timing. Even though my life in itself was challenging, I thought, you have to seize the opportunity when it comes. So I decided to do that, and I grew my practice with like 0 patients. That office started in 2010. 15 years later, I have about 2,500 patients in that office, and I outgrew my first office, my Laurel Horse office. So I was doing both of those. Plus, I was raising two kids with my family, and then I was doing public health at Odessa Brown in conjunction to all of that. So I was wearing many different hats, but I enjoyed it. I had many study clubs that I joined, and these are dental study clubs. So we would meet in a group, kind of like a EO forum, and we would talk about cases. So all we did was like delve into clinical cases. That happened, and then in 2018, well, I actually went through like a personal crisis before that, prior to that, and then the pandemic hit. When the pandemic hit, I needed a positive outlet, and I'm a runner, and I run every day, and as an entrepreneur, we're very robot minded. We have our set schedule, and we have the checklists that we have to check off. And mine is just running 3 miles every day.
Mhm.
But that didn't really help with what I was going through. So I needed to channel this type of energy to something positive. So that was when I attended the EO in Bend, Oregon, the chapter retreat. And one of the speakers, he shared with us, he said, instead of riding the wave, you ought to be ahead of the wave. And in that sense, I thought, like, how can that apply to dentistry? For me, applying that to dentistry meant, how do I make it more accessible to individuals to bring dentistry to them? And so I thought of all my patients that come from all over down south to Snohomish County, and they are stuck in traffic and they have to take off a whole half day of work to get to my office.
Right.
And how frustrating is that to kind of come in late? They're frustrated. My staff is waiting to go home, but I tell them we still are going to see them because I can understand their frustration. So I recognize that time is like the most valuable resource, and if I can limit the amount of time that they have to spend to take off work or sit in traffic, then I've solved the problem. And that problem was bringing dental services to them. So the whole model of that came about with that spark of that one idea. And with that one idea in the pandemic, I didn't have investors. I invest in myself and my education. And this time I invested in outrigging an RV bus, basically, to house everything that I wanted in a clinic, but it's on wheels
Yeah.
now. So I had to use my relationships with bankers that I had and grow. 'Cause as an entrepreneur, we have to develop these type of relationships, professional and business. And I tapped into that, and I was able to not only secure a loan, but have them believe in my model.
Yeah.
It was the very first one in Washington State. They have a lot of nonprofit models. This was the first one to be a for profit. My greater mission, because I said I want positive impact, is we want to give back to the community once a month and do nonprofit work with this vehicle. So that was my mission. So anybody that comes on our team, they know our three components of the Floss Boss mobile vehicle is convenience, compassion, and community. So we want to really make it ultra convenient, whether you have private insurance or you don't. Compassionately, just delivering dental care and bridging the disparity of healthcare, and also not in a non-judgmental way, educating everyone whether they're insured or uninsured. And then really the community aspect is what came about, where we deliver community service dentistry to patients in all different backgrounds. And that became my trifecta model. As Floss Boss Mobile evolved, the trifecta model is like Floss Boss is at the core, which is where we go to corporations and we do corporate dentistry. And we've focused first on larger size corporations, but we've found the challenges of reaching an HR directive with the larger corporations. So we pivoted, as we do as entrepreneurs. We pivoted and we went to midsize, and midsize worked better for us. And we were able to collaborate with their HR directors and work with them on sending out packets to their employees and getting their employees set up so that they could actually utilize their insurance. Most of these companies say that about 30 to 40% do not have the insurance, but they do not use the insurance
Right.
because it's inconvenient. So they thought, well, what do you charge? And I was like, we don't charge anything. We just charge the insurance, the patients, because the model of Floss Boss is preventative dental care. So we do checkups, x-rays. We give them a baseline of where they're at and we treatment plan things for them. We do offer intraoral scanning, which we can make a night guard. We can make aligner trays
And you can do that
in the
in the mobile
vehicle.
vehicle.
Yeah. So
Wow.
we do whitening in the mobile vehicle. If they needed further treatment or care, I have a huge UW alumni network. So wherever we're at, if our two offices are too far away for the individual, then we refer them back to one of my alumni colleagues from UW Dental School.
That's amazing.
Yes. So it works out really well. If they are in the nonprofit sector and then they need to be referred, we refer them back to either the dental school or we refer to the neighbor clinics surrounding.
So is the mobile clinic in operation every weekday?
Is it operating about 5 times a month?
Okay.
Typically, depending on the need or the contracts that we're out there, but usually we have our set nonprofit days
hmm
already set ahead of time. And during the pandemic, I predicted, and my bankers predicted that the interest rates were going to go up.
Yeah.
And back then, I got the best rate possible. So I decided to purchase one more vehicle ahead of time, predicting that this would be of best value, even though
Right.
I might be a walking loan bomb, but
Right.
it's one of those things where it's a risk. We're taking a risk, and I was taking a risk. The bank was taking a risk on me.
Yeah.
So we were all kind of unsure, but they felt confident in me and confident in my history of my practices
hmm
that they were going to back me up for both vehicles. So that's when I did purchase both, and one of them we've turned into like using for the nonprofit sector, and then Floss Boss Cares, and then the other one is for our corporations. Both are
Amazing.
equally equipped, but we do get some sponsorship and some funding for supplies, and
Yeah.
so that's what we use to stock our nonprofit vehicle.
So when did you launch the mobile services?
The mobile services were launched in 2022,
Okay.
so shortly
Just as
after.
we came out of lockdown,
That's right. That's right. And
when a lot of people hadn't been to the dentist.
yes, and back then they said over 30% of the population in the US had not seen a dentist since the pandemic. I didn't want to be in competition with other dentists. A lot of them raised eyebrows and they thought like, what is she doing? She's just trying to take business. That wasn't the model at all. And the model was let's get everyone back to a good baseline, re-educate them on oral hygiene habits because a lot of people actually surprisingly forgot the proper techniques.
Yeah.
So I would spend a lot of time kind of going over that, going over why one tooth loss costs $4,000. And it's very preventable if you actually utilize the preventative services. That model came about, and I emphasized it that once we get them on a baseline and they're aware and bringing awareness of their own oral care, they become proactive. And then they go see like maybe a dentist that's closer, or if they move, they have a great start to the oral care.
Right.
It's almost like a restart or a refresh.
Yeah. That's very smart. How many patients have you seen through the mobile clinics?
Typically, in one given day, we can see up to like 22 patients a day.
Mm.
And that's based on like predictable cleanings and x-rays,
Right.
checkups. Granted, if they have more questions or they have longer appointment times that are needed, then we'll usually use like if there's a cancellation during the day, then we'll have them come back from their workplace and we'll see them for further treatment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Before we continue, I want to tell you about the community that made this podcast possible. The Seattle chapter of EO, that's Entrepreneurs Organization. It's not networking, it's not selling to each other, it's real entrepreneurs sharing real challenges and solutions. If you have a business that does at least $1 million a year in revenue, and you're curious about joining a community that gets what you're going through, check out EO Seattle. You mentioned culture and the implications of culture on dentistry, which is something I'd never considered. How does culture, heritage, maybe even family traditions show up in dental care and what you need to do to maybe train your staff or
Mhm.
adjust your practices?
In both the private and the nonprofit sector, I can speak a little bit within the nonprofit sector. We've gone to Utopia, which is a LGBTQ plus community of Asian Samoans.
Hmm.
On the outer appearance, they can show that, they care about like how they're portrayed outside, but inside is they're struggling, like health wise, medical and dental. And so that was interesting to make sure that we use the correct pronouns and
Mhm.
then really learn like what like transgender really meant. Does it mean like everyone gets surgery? Does it mean you change your voice? Does it mean you take medications? There's such a huge realm of like different types and different personalities that we were able to kind of learn about while we were cleaning
Yeah.
their teeth. So it was in at a non-invasive kind of environment for them, non-judgmental, and they were really open to sharing. What my team came out of that is like, wow, that they have so much great energy. They're so nice. It was just sad to hear that they were often judged going outside to like a private dental office. They interviewed us before we even went there because they wanted to
Oh,
make sure that we were safe and we were not going to be
right.
judgmental on their care. That was interesting to see, but also we noticed that they had a lot of like bone loss, but also high blood pressure. We collaborated with American Heart Association that was at this community clinic, and right after their appointment, we usually take blood pressure at their appointment. So like right after we sent them into the clinic to take a look at their blood pressure and see if they need medication. So it's kind of like a holistic approach. The other organization that we've also gone to is the Real Escape of the Sex Trade. And those are sex trafficking victims where they really nervous. I mean, anxiety, depression, you have all of that. But they preferred female providers. Even my whole staff,
Sure.
I had to just take only female providers, and we made sure that we didn't overstaff our vehicle or take too many of their patients at one time, so it wasn't too stimulating. It was very invasive for them to even get a cleaning. So some of them we had to take 10 steps back and just let them know that they are in control and they can ask us to stop whenever they wanted to, and then proceed if they wanted to, or if they didn't and it was too much for them, then we would come back and see them in a different visit. So it really challenged us to listen to them and listen to their needs and wants and really communicate that and also just slow it down
Yeah.
quite a bit for them.
How have those experiences informed uh, your practices and care in your offices?
My team in my offices are the same is the same team that I
Right.
take on my mobile vehicles. So in my offices, the the neighborhoods are very affluent neighborhoods. So they are educated in their own dental care. They are educated in their insurances, but they oftentimes also do forget about like basics of hygiene. So we still kind of reiterate that and we go over that. The compassion is always there, regardless of if they look like they want to get up out of the chair after 5 minutes of sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
So we recognize that they're busy, having had the patients at these other clinics and understanding where that individual is coming from. It's almost like you customize the care, on my mobile vehicles and in my offices
Yeah.
to the patient.
Going to the dentist is for most people not something that they look forward to. It's anticipated to be an unpleasant experience. It sometimes isn't unpleasant, sometimes okay. But I'm curious what led you to dentistry?
Mhm.
Because I would assume that as a patient, you probably had similar experiences before you became a dentist. So what
What
created this passion for dentistry in you?
I started in high school, actually. I took a magnet program in Portland and
Hmm.
they had health occupations. And so for 3 years, starting my freshman year, I knew I wanted to go into healthcare. We delivered community service. We learned medical terminology. We went to nursing homes. And then in our last year, they offered an opportunity to just focus on dental, like dental assisting. So I took that class, and then it was then that we went to the Oregon Health Sciences University and helped the pre-dental students and the dental students there. And I really developed this passion. I really believe dentistry is like an art. I love art, and you're also an engineer. So you're an artist, you're an engineer, and then you're a huge problem solver. So you're trying to solve these basic problems leading to like really tragic problems that occur in patients. And then you have to decide like what's the best solution to this particular issue at hand. That comes with a lot of exposure and experiences, I feel like. And so I didn't really have a mentor in between from high school to college, but I knew I was driven to go into this field. And I volunteered for one dentist, but that volunteer experience wasn't the greatest. I just kind of observed, but not really anything hands on. So I created a program, and part of my trifecta model of Floss Boss is to mentor pre-dental students and high school students and dental students. So I train these pre-dental students and I bring them on to all the community events that we hold, and I develop them not only as assistants, but they are become leaders within my organization. So they know how to communicate. They have the communication skills down. They know how to problem solve. And these are all things that I struggled with. And I was first gen healthcare.
Yeah.
I didn't have anyone to kind of ask, or any dentist to be like, oh, how do you do this? Or can I come by and watch you do this? There wasn't that availability. So I created that availability for myself to give back to my assistants. And I've mentored about 70 of them now, and they all got into dental school except two that had career changes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's
So that's what I see as success to me, is like when I can pass my knowledge onto them and they can make it bigger and greater and do better than I did when I was their age. These life skills can be taught at an early age if you have the right mentor.
right. How would you say your dental practices, your clinics are different?
So I have about 6 dentists and 2 specialists. So we're a multi-specialty clinic. The specialist that we have is a gum specialist. We have Dr. Shaked Pelli, and then I have a prosthodontist. His name is Dr. Shervin Hashem Zadeh. And then I have a general dentist that comes from Bellingham. He has his own practice, but he comes and does surgery for us because he has a passion for surgery. He did a similar type of residency program. And so we tend to keep everything in house. So I do a lot of the pediatrics and the difficult pediatrics because I've been at Odessa Brown. That was like a 22-year training residency for me. So I don't refer those cases out at all. And if my general practitioners don't feel confident, then they appoint them with me for difficult procedures. And then we have this culture, and I feel like our culture is what I learned to develop during the pandemic. Before, I didn't know what work culture meant, but it's this culture of like trusting each other, thinking about each other, working together in unison. And that is like everyone works hard, but everyone enjoys themselves and has a great time. We typically have like 2 events per year. I have about a 95% turnout. The team is just, they want to spend more time together. And I haven't been around a lot of offices that want to do that. They usually just want to like work and then go home. But I feel like our offices are different in that way. Outside or inside of the clinic, we genuinely enjoy each other and we're very active. One of the things that I particularly believe in is physical health, which helps alleviate a lot of mental health stresses. Dentistry is very stressful, just physically and mentally. I often host or I fund a 5K, 10K, and even a triathlon. So every year, I'm like, or maybe 2 times a year, we'll do like a 10K.
Yeah.
Together.
As an office?
As an office.
Ooh.
And then we did our first triathlon 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've done 2 in a row of these triathlons. And then we'll do like half marathons. I'm like, who wants to do a half next? And then it might be a full. So kind of creating this and running with them and actually coming through the finish line with them. And I see my whole team. I probably have about like 15 people that show up. It just builds this healthy relationship, healthy physical, bodies in us because we're so like intertwined in our like neck and our spine when we're sitting that it just very liberating to kind of get out there and then see one another and cheer for one another,
Sure.
support each other, all through like just one goal of like staying physically active and healthy.
It didn't occur to me that dentistry would be physically and mentally taxing.
I think physically because you're sitting in such a microscopic area
Yeah.
and
So
granted
controlled, I suppose.
very controlled. We're dealing with tongues and cheeks and muscles that are very masseters that are very strong. And
Mhm.
so like I'm having to retract with a mirror. So like my shoulders and my traps usually are very fatigued after a 10-hour day. You know, we want to do the best that we can. It is difficult when patients might not see that and appreciate that. And maybe they had a bad day, but oftentimes we feel like sometimes it's taken out on us. But we're only trying to do our best and it, this might go wrong or that might go wrong, but it's for me I have to like really communicate like this is what I see. Here are the photos and it's just a lot of communication.
Right.
So then mentally it's like it's by the end of the day I'm pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
So I try to start my days off in the morning at 6 a.m. with a run to
Yeah.
get that out of the way because in the evenings I'm usually pretty tired.
It's interesting how you can move through life encountering people in microcosm and not taking into account the implications of that interaction played out 30 times throughout their day.
Throughout the
Yeah.
day and then in these areas where, you know, now we're also problem solving. We're like, "Oh, this tooth just broke or fractured. What with this time that I have with their time can I do? What's the best treatment in this situation at this time?" And so there's a lot of thinking involved.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of artistry because if we do same day, now we're sculpting things inside and making sure it's the right color, the hue, the whole different specialties of like being an artist and an engineer and a dentist. I feel like it all comes into play
Right.
for each patient. So it's almost like we have to give our 100% fully of our thought process into this patient or
Sure.
individual and then to
Repeatedly throughout the day.
repeatedly. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's surprises that you don't expect and then you have to pivot. So I really think that it's like how flexible you can be as a dentist, kind of understand where that patient's coming from and just listen and maybe pivot the treatment plan to this another option for the patient depending on finances, depending on what their wants and needs are. If they have this one tooth that's really bothering them, are you going to treat this other tooth or are you going to treat the tooth that they're complaining about? Kind of thinking all of that through. But I love our group practice. I used to be a solo practitioner and I used to do 6 days a week. But I love the group practice feel. And I think that's another thing that makes us different is we talk about the cases. So I don't have to join a study club because we're talking. All of our knowledge base is shared out loud. And then we all make a decision it's like, oh yeah, I think that's the best decision. So it's not just one person deciding that, but it's a collective effort to refer to our specialist. It's pretty quick. We do it through Slack. If we need something more urgent, the patient doesn't have to wait. We look at the appointment schedule and we can see them like the next day. And the other thing that also sets us apart is I do have a therapy dog and his name was Peppa. He was actually our pandemic dog that
Yeah.
my kids begged me for, and I said no until I said, okay, our family actually needs a therapy dog. And so we recruited him, but I had a trainer come out and train him, and he is a therapy dog for my patients that have anxiety. So a lot of my patients that have anxiety, they use nitrous, and I tell them, nitrous, there's a charge to nitrous, but do you want to try Peppa? And he'll just lay on your chest. He's free. And so I
Such a good idea.
yes.
Yeah.
And he just sleeps and the noises don't affect him. He just like remains calm and they just pet him and he's hypoallergenic. So
Yeah.
it's a win-win for everybody. And I can bring him to my offices and my staff just love seeing this furry staff member kind of roaming around,
Yeah.
and they enjoy that. It's a relief for them, but it's a relief for my patients as well.
Yeah. We have dogs as well. And we got a puppy, I guess, just after we came out of lockdown. And my daughters love the dog so much. I have one daughter who's in college. I have another who's at boarding school in New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Quite often, the first thing that we get from them, either in a phone call or via text, is how are the dogs, or send us a picture of the dogs. And
And
then it's how are we? But
and then
first, how
yes,
are the
yes,
dogs?
it's just kinda like how the dogs greet you first.
Exactly.
Your
It's
kids might
reciprocal.
be, like, in their rooms, but the dogs come out to greet and, like, that was,
Yeah.
like, the best part of, like, having our dog is like, "Wow, I actually get a greeting."
Yeah. And the dog's cheerful no
Yes,
matter what.
yes,
Yeah.
happy to see you.
That's right. Exactly.
Unconditional love.
That's right.
Yes.
So what brought you to EO and when did you join?
So I joined EO in 2018, and one of my good friends, Alice New, her husband was in YPO. His name is David New. After having some conversations, just one on one, she thought the space that would be created in EO would best suit some of my needs and my business challenges that I was facing. So when she had mentioned it, I looked into it and I thought, yeah, maybe that could help in addition to doing my study clubs with my dental group. Oftentimes in our dental groups, we don't ever talk about finances. It's more the challenge of like, how do you fix this tooth or some HR issues, but nothing like in terms of like, oh, what was your profit like? Or, this month or last year. I needed those types of experience shares. And I
Yeah.
thought that they would be helpful for me to kind of see where I stand and what I could maybe do better to grow my businesses. And so when I started, it was a brand new forum that got formed. And I think it's like 8 years later,
Mhm.
three of us are still remained in the same forum and we've had additions. So for a long time, I call them a band of brothers
Yeah.
because really I get their opinions on things that I might not think about in leadership. And they're risk takers. And so in healthcare, we're risk averse. Like we don't want to take risks. Like we want to do things that are predictable. So it really pushed me out of my shell of thinking outside the box by talking to my four mates. And I thought, well, they're doing this. I think I can try this out and open my mind to different venues and collaborations and relationships instead of just sticking to like the one way that I've been taught in
Yeah.
school. And so that's kind of, I already had my two businesses, but then when I joined EO, when we had that retreat, that's when they were in full support when I shared with them the idea. And I love the fact that, everything's prefaced around confidentiality, going over your bottom five, top 5% in personal, business, and family, I think was very helpful for me at the time. And everybody goes and gets to know each other on a deeper level.
Mm.
So monthly when we meet, we kind of keep up with each other, but we also have our own chat group. So people are sharing like photos and things of their family. So I feel like I know their family because they've shared so much, even though I haven't seen their family.
Right.
But then they share photos, and I know the individual, my four mates better in that sense of who they are as a leader in their businesses and who they are as a parent and who they are like just as a husband or wife. Just kind of sharing those and the collective thoughts of things. And then when there's an emergent issue at hand, they're ready to get on a Zoom call or a phone call, just like that,
Yeah.
to help you. So I feel like the support is like unreal. I always appreciate them, and
Yeah.
I'm there for them just as much as they are for me.
How has EO changed you?
EO has changed me to be more independent and become a risk taker. Signing those loan documents, I wasn't sure because my office is shut down.
Mhm.
And I thought,
That was really brave. I didn't realize it was still during shutdown.
it was still
That
during
was bold.
shutdown. It was
Yeah.
very bold. So like my forum mates called me ballsy.
I think
They're
that's
like,
fair. Yeah.
you're taking this huge risk, but good for you. And they were just encouraging me, like, you'll do just fine. You've done fine in your practices. They were kind of like my backbone. It's like, I don't know about this. And but I started to believe in myself and they gave me the confidence to kind of sign those documents. And then I got invited to pitch my idea to the UW Business School through KeyBank and they had a pitch contest. And I remember they set aside time for me in forum to pitch to them the same presentation. And
Yeah.
we talk about dentistry, like how everyone has, that's the number one fear for many. My number one fear was public speaking. I thought I needed help and I needed their comments on like my pitch and how I can improve it. And they were there for me. They called me right before the pitch, I remember. And so I think that support has really changed like who I am and who I enjoy being around and learning from. when I go to these chapter retreats or chapter events, I meet so many people outside of my forum that I connect with, and these relationships are very tangible because these relationships within my forum, even I become clients or they become clients.
Mhm.
So it's almost like a great resourcing network for me
Yeah.
to have such a diverse crew of different CEOs and entrepreneurs in all different industries. So that's been life changing to kind of be around that and then be motivated by that, and then share the same excitement. In my own forum, I actually, all of us, all eight of us have like double businesses. Like we're running two different types of businesses. So
Yeah.
it's actually very, very cool and intriguing to see what everyone's doing. And so I think it's like very forward thinking, but it's also risk taking involved. It's
Mhm.
also, everyone's juggling family, but they're doing these side hustles as well.
I'm curious, if you were to think back to when you joined EO
Mhm.
compared to now, can you remember your inner monologue when you joined EO, and how has it changed now?
Yeah. So when I first started, I mean, I wouldn't call myself an introvert back then, but I was going through a divorce, or I had gone through a divorce. I was still just trying to make it as a single mom and then do these businesses. And so I initially thought, I don't have like 4 or 5 hours to give once a month. That's a lot for me. And I was kind of dismayed by it. And I just was such a commitment level. But then when I look back now and how I've evolved as a person, and in terms of not just in our forum and like the chapter retreats, but the extra learning that we get. I know every summer they have the Jumpstart programs, and I've joined every year for the last 3 years. They just recently had one on AI, Kickstart, and then
Hmm.
parenting. I feel like it's almost like listening to a podcast, but it's focused on EOers. And so I learned so much from those resources and just listening. And it's so nice that I don't have to like go to a retreat to do that, and I can listen
Right.
via Zoom on my time while I'm in between things, or even on my off time.
Yeah.
So I think like that has helped me grow as a leader. Like EO has helped me grow as a leader just by all the different resources that it's had. I also went to Global EO this past spring. I met so many people from all different countries, and just the hosts in Korea, they were so nice to share with us. I mean, I'm Korean American, but I don't know so much about Korean culture, but they were showcasing all of like Korean culture and what they do. And then I was sitting next to like EO Australia. They were just so warm and welcoming, and got to like really get to know them. And so, they're like, come visit anytime. And I have like friends outside of like the Seattle, US area that I can kind of rely on, and be social media friends with. And so that's why it genuinely has been like very nice in terms of connecting and networking, and then just hearing how others are doing businesses in
Yeah.
different countries.
Yeah.
It's very insightful
Yes.
for me.
I agree.
I forgot to mention though
Yes.
that one of my first corporations that believed in me were the Seattle Seahawks.
Tell me about that.
So the mid-sized corporations, when we were knocking on doors, the opportunity came about to talk with the director of player engagement. He thought the idea was phenomenal because it was a private practice
Yeah.
coming to them, and they're very strict on their schedules and in terms of like being able to get out on a day off to go find a dentist and then go get their checkups
Yeah.
done. And so they thought that this model, if like they provided the space for me, which they provided right under the flagpole in the VMAC,
Hmm.
right across the gym. Very easy for their players to access.
Right.
And then a lot of their players come from out of state. So it just made it easier for them to come get their teeth cleaned and checked up.
Yeah.
So the model worked, and we've been there for like 3 years now. Recently, my most memorable experience on that vehicle at the VMAC was the GM, John Snyder, came up to me and he said, gave me a big hug, and he said, "Thank you for providing these services and coming to us. We really appreciate it. And
Yeah.
it's been great working with you guys." To me, that was very enriching. And I thought, if they believe in us, there's all these other corporations that will eventually follow. And recently we landed Nintendo as a contract in Redmond. Our next contract that we're working on is Olympic Heritage, which is a DSHS run company,
Mhm.
and it's a inpatient mental health facility located in Tequila. So it's a for-profit. However, we're working with challenging patients. Safety might be posed as a hazard. And so that was one of the things that I emphasized with the director. My number one priority is safety for my staff.
Right.
So they are working to have security on board when we're treating their patients. And then they're working with having someone sitting next to the inpatient while
Mhm.
they're on our vehicle. And so we had to learn like what we're expecting because this is our very first time tapping into that community,
Sure.
which will be very rewarding, very challenging, but very promising. And they're so happy that we're willing to work with them on that because they just lack dental care in general.
Sure. The logistics, I'm sure, of getting anyone to a dental appointment outside the facility.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
very challenging.
Yeah.
Yep,
One of the things I'm curious about coming back to the Seahawks is, did they fit in the chairs?
they did. And I
Yes.
made sure of that
Yeah.
before I purchased the equipment. I said, can a 450-pound linebacker make it in this chair? They're like, 450 is the max. So I'm like, without breaking down.
Good.
Okay. Yeah,
From kids to Seahawks linebackers,
exactly.
everything in between.
And everything in between.
What do you want people to know about you?
What do I wear many hats. And I think, I mean, I'm a dentist, I'm a bus driver, I'm a mom, I'm a mentor. You know, I serve as a public health dentist and then I train residents. And so I have many hats I wear, but I think it comes from the trauma that I've experienced and the resiliency that got built upon it, and then the perseverance. So I feel like those traits is what defines me and who I am today. And I am a very fast problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Seems so, yeah.
Fast problem solver. I think very quickly. My role in my forum, they will never have me give up this role. Is like I do all the thinking for them when we have our evening events in terms of ordering, in terms of where we're going. They don't have to think and they love it. And so I naturally play that role in my offices because I feel like I'm an event planner.
Yeah.
And I plan all these events, but I do that for my own forum, and I feel like that's my special trait.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. And I love staying active. If there's an EO event where we're running a half marathon or a full or what, those are things that intrigue me and will kind of entice me to, attend. We also had an unofficial, actually running group at all of our chapter retreats. I don't know if you know about it, Aaron, but it's with Andy Liu and it's with Russell Benaroya and
Yeah.
Bob. I happened to come down an elevator one morning, gonna go on my daily run, and they were already going running. Same elevator. We're like, you guys are doing the same thing that I'm doing. They're like, yeah, come join us. I'm like, well, I'm not sure because your pace might be different. I mean, Russell's an ultra marathoner, and so I'm like, I'm okay. But they're like embracing me, and they're like, it's okay. We just go at any pace.
Yeah.
So it was nice, and our group kind of formed, and then it grew. And so every year we kind of grab people that want to like enjoy themselves on an evening out, but the next morning go at it with a nice run
That's
and then
fantastic.
attend a conference.
Yeah. Russell is an ultra marathoner, and Andy is usually one of the last people to go to sleep.
That's right. Yes. So they called me, I'm like the female version of Andy.
Oh, really?
Because I'm one of the last people to go to sleep, but also the first to wake up
Yeah.
and then get my run in.
That's impressive. This
Yeah.
has been a lot of fun. It's been
Yeah.
a great conversation.
I
Thank
loved
you.
it.